Hi. Can making cancer cells more visible help cure the disease? Today we're speaking with Morten Albrechtsen, CEO of the Danish biotech company Fluoguide that's on its way to spotlight stock market. Welcome, Morten.
Thank you very much.
What is it that you are developing?
We're developing a product and a technology that can increase precision in surgery. And we start out with cancer surgery, where we make the cancer light up and help the surgeon to remove all cancer.
And you are focusing on severe brain cancer, I understand. Why is this?
Yes, that's correct. We start out with the severe brain cancer called glioblastoma. And one of the reasons for that is that it's a very severe indication. Only 5% is surviving 5 years. And one of the things is that it's very difficult for the surgeon to remove just the cancer in the brain, because if you, for instance, have the speech center very close to the cancer, you should not remove it. So precision is extremely important in glioblastoma, in brain cancer.
How many of these operations are carried out each year?
There are 6,000 new patients diagnosed every year in US and Europe, and almost all of them have surgery as a primary treatment.
Like you say, it is very hard to just take away the cancer parts and not the healthy parts. Even if you would provide perfect visibility, how much would that help in terms of getting the operations successful?
We will never be able to promise 100% cure in any way, but our purpose is that we make a tool for the surgeon to improve the surgery, reduce the side effect, or if they have to remove some severe or critical part of the brain, they know they're doing it because there's cancer inside, so they know they do it for a purpose. So we increase the benefit for the patient.
How small lump of cells can you see, make the doctor see?
In principle, our product is bind per cell to the cell, so we can see down to cellular level in principle. But in practical terms, when the surgeon are operating the patient, they will see down to sub-millimeter size of tissue.
When do you think you will know more about how successful or how good your product is working?
We actually know quite well already that the product is working. We have tested it in human cancer, with human surgery, with human equipment, but done in animals. And an interesting thing here is that it's more mechanical. It has to bind to the cancer and light up. So the fact that it's human cancer in animals actually simulating the situation in clinic very much. We also know that the product is a very low risk for side effect because the way it's made up by two components that have been tested in man, both of them. So we know quite well that this also is a remote risk, but of course we have to prove it. So the thing we have to test in the first clinical trials is more the procedure around the surgeon in the human setting and prove that works well.
So when do you think you could be ready for market?
We will have a stepwise approach to the market. So after our first clinical trial, we would expect that it would be unethically not to use the product in selected patients for selected centers, and we will start selling the product already and that will be end of 2020. It will not be a huge revenue, it will be a modest revenue, but it will start getting the commercialization started. Then for the big, broad use of the product, it will be in 2022 or 3 in that range, depending on the feedback on the trials and regulatory agency advice.
How do you plan to reach the market? And are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to partner with someone?
We initially will start ourselves, because one of the things with glioblastoma is that it's very centralized, so it's only few centers that treat glioblastoma, and we can serve those centers ourselves in Europe and also in US ourselves, and we'll start that. Later on, when we go out more broadly to more common cancer indication, we will have to partner up with partners. And also, you can say some of the market, for instance, Asia, is very different from Europe and US and Europe, and that would make a lot of sense to partner it up there early on.
What pricing strategy will you have?
Yes, we believe that the good thing is actually, if you look at the American hospital system, they will like to see a saving in their let's say surgery treatment of the patient. And what our plan is that when we have, for instance, a patient with severe brain cancer, glioblastoma, we could see how many of the patients will have a recur of the cancer, regrow of the cancer, and that's approximately 100%. And we know the neurosurgery operation procedure is very expensive. So you can say that every time we save them for a procedure, they could pay or share some of that saving with us. And that's how we will price the product. So the price for glioblastoma is much higher than it would be, for instance, for breast cancer.
What other types of cancer are you aiming to light up in the long run?
Yeah, actually our target, the small protein that is bind to the cell surface, UPAR, That's the one our product targeted. And it's an receptor that is extensively expressed in many different types of cancer. And particularly in the place in the cancer where they invade the normal tissue, so when it's kind of destroying normal tissue to spread into it, there the UPA is mostly expressed. And that's why it's a particularly good target for guiding surgery. But we know, for instance, breast cancer is extensively expressed as well. We know for colorectal cancer, lung cancer, and other cancer of the more frequent types, it's very extensively expressed. But the different indication have different, for instance, breast cancer will come early on presenting to the hospital, so surgery is more important and our product will make a larger benefit. Lung cancer, for instance, often present later, so the likelihood of the cancer to be localized is lower. So you can say it can make different benefit in different cancer indications because when they're found, really.
How many employees do you have now?
We have 3 employees, but we work out of a model, have quite severe senior people involved in the company, and then we use outsource for different kind of tasks we have to do, production and so on.
What kind of burn rate, cash-wise, are you planning for the, let's say, the nearest years?
We have the way we do it is that we have a very low fixed burn rate, and we have a burn rate that will keep us floating until end of 2020, and we expect the result of the clinical trials by mid of 2020, so in advance of that. But when this is said, also we see that the pipeline is booming. When we do more indication, that it will likely make sense that we increase the burn rate at some point in the time, but we don't have to, and we don't want to before we have demonstrated that it works in the first indication.
Okay. So these 60 million you're taking in now going to last until 2020 something?
Yes, it will. When is that? I think we could use more money at a stage mid of next year, but the time will show.
Okay. What would you say are the biggest risks when it comes to Fluoguide?
It's I mean, the product itself is not the biggest risk because it's made of 2 components that already have been tested in man and we know work quite well. We have the animal tests that show that actually the principle works in a human cancer. So it's more procedural. It's more a question of if the surgeon how they're working and they're integrating with the hospital system. So that's one thing that is a risk for us. Another thing that is a risk for us is that we are a second company in this field at the moment, and it's a booming field. If we should keep our pace and maintain that position, then we have to move fast. So if we don't move fast enough, we will lose that position. So we miss an opportunity. But it's not an end of the company. It's just that we are less good as we could have been.
Are there tough competitors out there?
Not yet. Not yet. There's only one competitor, and they don't have product on the market. So there's no active Fluo on the market at the moment. There's one that have a product in phase 3, and it's for another indication. So it's ovarian cancer. It's not, for the female, ovarian, and it's not going after UPA. It's going after a folate receptor. So it's another receptor, so another cancer type, and their receptor is not so well expressed by different kind of cancers. But the good thing for us is that they have paved the way through the regulatory agencies, and we know quite well what exactly is expected of them to prove in the clinical study. So you can say we call it a healthy competition, but it's sure we know there's a lot of company coming into the field, and it's unlikely that there will not be competition in the future because it's a very attractive field.
All right. Thank you, Morten, for being with us, and good luck.
Thank you.